Have I found the best retirement investment plan? Stay tuned. We're going to go into this. It's going to be awesome. You're going to like what you see. I'm telling you right now. And if you don't like it, you'll get a refund back. How about that? So welcome to part 2 of my analysis on the best retirement plan investment strategy that I could find. I went back to part 1 yesterday, and there'll be a link up there someplace where you can look at that to start the premise of this. But here's part 2 where we're really going to give you the scenarios. So welcome to Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Subscribe, comments, the whole thing. Thumbs up. That all helps me. Share with friends and families alike. As the more you share, the more it benefits me. And I know that's what you're here to do, is to benefit me, right? So definitely share. And let's dive right into this. So where we left off yesterday is we started with the VASGX. We since deleted that. We went to Wellington Fund because Wellington turned out, as I ran all these different scenarios. You can see, let me get rid of that. You can see down here just a ton of different scenarios. By far and away, Wellington was the shining light. There's no other way around that. So the question is, can we do anything to beat Wellington? That's the question. So we're starting in 2001, going to 2017, and we're starting with $100,000. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here first and foremost. To give you an example, at the end of 2017, when we took 5% a year off the portfolio, Wellington gave us $102,000 of income, and it left us with a cash account value left of the portfolio balance left of $149. So 102 in income, 149 of total, the ending result of the account value. If we did 5% on the front end the very first year and adjusted each and every year with inflation, 3% inflation, it gave us $108,000 of income, and it left us with a portfolio value of $137. So that's what we're looking for. Can we beat that? If we can beat that, we have something to think about. If we can't, then Wellington continues to reign supreme, and we're going to beat it. It's nuts. All right, so the first thing, I got a number of different scenarios here, and we're going to go by these one by one. And we're going to start with withdrawal from whatever performed best. All right, so we took 2001. I took 4 funds. I put $25,000 in each fund. So we have VWNDX, which is the Vanguard Windsor Fund. We have the Pennsylvania Royce Pennsylvania Mutual Fund. We have Gold and Precious Metals from USAA, and then we got the Vanguard High Yield Fund. Put $25,000 in each. So we have commodities, we have bonds, junk bonds, we have small cap and mid cap stocks, and we have large cap, more value oriented of domestic stocks. So a very diversified, all domestic, and that's the starting premise. So what does it look like then when we start with $25,000 and then we take our account money that we need? Our money that we need in this case is $5,000 the first year. The next year we're adjusting for inflation, so it's $5,150. The next year we're adjusting with another inflation. So we're taking $5,000 the first year, $5,150, $5,305, and so on and so on. What does it look like then? And in this case, we're just saying what performed best the preceding year, and we're going to pull that entire amount that we need, the $5,000, the $5,150, $5,305. We're going to pull that from whatever fund did best the preceding year. And again, starting in 2001 to 2017. The red is where we pulled the money from. So here you can see the USAGX. A lot of the stuff came from that, at least in the front part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times of the 17 years did the income come from the USAGX. The high yield bond fund, 1, 2, 3 times. The Pennsylvania Mutual Fund once. And then the Windsor Fund, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. All right, so we pulled $5,000 and adjusted for inflation from one of these 4 funds every single time. So every single fund had a distribution at some point. What did that leave us? Well, let's take a look. We're able to take $108,000 of income. That will forever be, if we're doing 5% adjusted each year with inflation, $108,000 of income. And our ending value was $255,000. So the Wellington Fund in this same scenario had an ending value of $137, and here's $255. That's a big deal, my friends. That's almost double what the Wellington had. All right, and we still had the same amount of income, 10808, 108,808. Now we did have a couple down years. So Wellington Fund had, I think, it was one down year in 2008, or 2 down years. I think 2002 and 2008. had it down here. So we did have a couple. We went from 254 to 175. Went from 329 all the way down to 190. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive years we lost money, or we had less money than we started with. Yeah, we had less money than we started with. So we did have some tough times, but if we could have hung in there, we dwarfed Wellington, no other way around that. Now, let's go to part 2 of this. So this is where I say, what if we said, let me go down here. Yeah. What if we only took the money out, not from whatever did the best the preceding year, but whatever had the most money in it at the end of the year? All right. So we don't care what it did the preceding year, what had the most money in it. And again, we're taking 5% a year to start with. We take $5,000, 5150, 5305. Same 4 funds, 25%. We're not rebalancing or anything. We're just saying what has the most money in it at the end of the year. And as you can see, the USA Gold and Precious Metals funds did every single year for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the first 12 years, USA Gold and Precious Metals Fund had the most in it, and then the last 4 years of the Pennsylvania Royce Mutual Fund. So in this case, again, we took the same amount out, 108,808. What was the total portfolio balance there? Look at that, my friends, 294. 294. So we went from 255 to 294 with the same amount of income just by simply forgetting what it did the previous year. We don't care. We simply said whatever had the most in it at the end of the year, that's where we're going to take our distribution from. And that's nuts. And when you think about it, I mean, that's that's $40,000 more than what we did just by taking from the preceding year, whatever did the best of the preceding year. We're just saying whatever had the most. That's crazy. That right there is 160,000 more than Wellington, too, by the way. Same amount of income, 160,000 more than the Wellington fund had. I was stunned when I saw this. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is crazy. No rebalancing needed. Simply taking 4 funds, diversified into a bunch of different things. Again, high yield, junk bonds. We got gold and precious metals, small, mid caps, and large caps. That's it. No international, no nothing. I mean, just that's what we've done here. And it's, I mean, that's superior. There's no other way around it. Now, again, you have some pretty down years. You went from 254 to 175 from 2008 to 2009. You went from 316 to 277. Then you went from 279 to all the way down to 220. That's just not that. I mean, that's not huge volatility. I mean, there's some, but it's just not that big relative to going back here. Because here we had 5 straight years of 329 down to 190, and then 254 to 175. Here we went from 254 to 175 as well. But on these 3 years, when the gold and precious metals was getting crushed, we only went from. Got a phone ringing. Hold on just a second. So here we got 254 when the gold was getting hammered. We got 254. It went down to all of 175. That's when we're taking the portfolio from whatever had the most in it at the end of the year, whereas previously it went from 254 and 175 as well. But watch this. Previously, it went from 329 all the way down to 190. And then down here, it goes to 316 to 277. So not only do we have less or more income, well, not more income because we're taking 5% a year off, 50,000 more in portfolio value of 294 to 255, but we have less volatility as well. And so remember we started this thing, we said we could scratch VASGX, we could go to Wellington Fund. We're trying to beat Wellington Fund, and now we found a way to beat the Wellington Fund. There are 2 ways. One is by taking 5% adjusted each year with inflation, using whatever did the best the previous year as our point that we take the distribution from. And the other is we're going to take 5% a year adjusted for inflation, using whatever had the most value in it as what we're going to take our income from. And now we know which one beats that. And that is taking whatever the income you need taking it from the account that has the most value in it, regardless of what it did the previous year. So now we're starting to get something built up here, my friends. We know 5% the first year, adjusted each and every year for inflation at 1.03 or 3%, times by 1.03, but 3% inflation. We know we take 25, 25, 25, 25, and these four funds are funds similar. Obviously, you have to look at your own funds. And we say, okay, what did each of these funds do? We're going to pull the 5,000. We're going to pull the 5150. We're going to pull the 5305 and so on from an account. What's the best way to do that? Well, according to the numbers I just shared you here, the best way to do that is to pull it from the account that had the most value in it at the end of the year, regardless of what it did that previous year. All right. So let's keep diving into this, though. All right. So we're going to say, well, we took 5% a year from the highest account. All right. So now we're saying we're going to scrap taking the distribution from the account that did the best the previous year. Now we're going to take 5% a year, not adjusted for inflation, just 5% a year of whatever the portfolio is from the highest account. Not that did the best, but had the most money in it. All right. So now we're using the same funds. Now let's take a look at here. And so if we take it from the highest account, interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 from USA GX, Gold and Precious Metals. We got 1 time from Vanguard High Yield Fund, 3 times from Royce, and 1 time from the Windsor Fund. Isn't that interesting? All right, so now we're taking 5% of the year, and we have 163,000 of income. Our last year of income, we had $11,000, so pretty significant income there. So we've taken more income, significantly more income, but we still have $234,000. If we compare that to Wellington, in Wellington, we took $102,000 of income, and we had $149,000. So, I mean, just in every single stretch of the imagination, this smokes Wellington, which smoked everything else. I mean, look at that. 234,000 is 80,000. 80,000, 85,000 more than Wellington. And from an income stream, we took 60,000 more from income. I mean, that's $140,000 difference. I find that absolutely fascinating. Now, it's just, look at that. Now what we can see here is, what did we get hammered? So we ended up 114, 118, 180, 211, 220. So 220 to 146, as in 2008, we got hammered pretty good there. 202, 241, 241 to 212. That's a hammering, but not a huge hammering. 222 to 217 to 191. So, I mean, just less volatility than even this guy here, which had which is where we took with the adjusted for inflation as opposed to the actual 5%. Less volatility there, but just a lot more income. Now we do have less portfolio value. We got 160. 234 here. We got 294 there. So, I mean, we're basically taking more of the portfolio. We're leaving less of the portfolio to take more income. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to accomplish income, or are you trying to accomplish some income but more portfolio in terms of what you would want to do for your strategy on when to take the money out? Should you take it 5% of the total portfolio value each and every year, or should you take 5% of the first year, adjust each year with inflation? I'll leave that to you. So let's keep going now. So now we're going to switch out a couple of things. So is that the word? Yeah, okay. So now, because we have no international in this, so let me go back here. So the Vanguard Windsor Fund is all domestic stocks, mostly value oriented. U.S. Gold and Precious Metals, Vanguard High Yield, and then Pennsylvania Royce Mutual Fund is no international. So I said, well, let's switch out VAWNDX for ANWPX, which is the American Fund's New Perspective Fund, and roughly 70% large cap stocks, domestic, and 30% large cap stocks, international. So that's all we're doing here. And now we're going to take out again from the highest valued. We're no longer doing whatever did the best the previous year, because I think we've can nip that in the bud and say, no, it's the highest value. And now we're adding a little bit international. So we have 25,000 in American New Perspective, 25,000 in Royce Pennsylvania Mutual Fund, 25,000 in Gold and Precious Metals, and 25,000 in the Vanguard High Yield Fund. And let's take a look at what we have here. Does it do much when we add a little bit of international? And the answer is yes. we have 108,000 in there when we're taking out for inflation. Again, 5%, and then adjusting it each and every year for inflation. So we took 108,000 of cash, and we're left with 304. Going back to the Wellington, we took 108,000 in cash, and we're left with 137. I mean, look at that. That simple addition of adding a little bit to the international gave us 304 minus, I think it's 294. Yeah, so we added $10,000 extra just by that little addition of the international markets. Nothing fancy, but that's pretty significant. I'll make sure my mic's plugged in. So let's see what we did. We went 261 down to 181. So we took a loss there. Let me highlight that. That's a pretty big loss. No getting around that. Boink and boink. 325, 284 is a loss there. Boink. And let's do that guy. And then a boink here. 270, 237. So we got 3 years of losses here. So it looks like the worst case scenario that we took here was we went from 261 to 181. That's an $80,000 loss. That's not anything that's not chump change there. 80,000 off 261 is bear with me just a second, my friends. 80 divided by 261. That's a 30% decline right there. So that's a pretty significant decline. No getting around that. But again, the S&P 500 and the total stock index are both down 37%. Let's go up here. We went from 254 to one. Let me make sure that's right. Blink. Yeah, 254 to 175. So 254 minus 175 divided by 254. That's a 31% loss. So wow, this one with just the Vanguard Windsor fund was actually more volatile, not by much, but more volatile with less total return, which is pretty interesting. And again, we're talking a difference between $10,000. Not a huge difference, but still, the little bit of addition of international limited our downside by a little bit. Now, again, we're not talking much. They still both got crunched, but it gave us a little bit more return. I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, so now this is where, all right, let me pause here. This is where it's going to get fun. We're going to show you part 3. We're going to switch out the Vanguard High Income Fund, the High Yield Bond Fund, with the Vanguard REIT. This is awesome. Wait, my friends. So watch, keep watching. Subscribe, comment, thumbs up. All right, we'll see you next time.